Good evening. As you heard, my name is Cathleen and I'm running for the State Senate seat, District 1, which covers 32 towns in Coos County and roughly 16 in northern Grafton County. So it's a combination of what I call the North Country. Now, a little bit of myself. There's a unique story. My dad actually worked for New England Electric and worked on the Ward Dam. He was an electronics engineer at the time, and they are the reason why I'm here in front of you today. Because back then, New England Electric gave benefits to their personnel, their employees, where they covered for all of their insurance, health insurance and everything. So at the time that I was born, they covered everything that had to be done 2 years later because I had a birth defect that required surgery. And so it's the reason why I can stand before you today. But today, we don't have that kind of health care coverage anymore. It's all of us putting in a lot of money and getting very little for what's being paid in. That's one of the many reasons I'm running in regards to this race. A lot of things that I'm hearing is about affordability. It's about housing, childcare, jobs, basically the economy, and also our kids not having a place to go to work, not being able to find housing, and ultimately moving out from the area where we are a shrinking group and an aging group. So there's a lot of different issues that we have to address that aren't being addressed right now, as far as the things that I see. Lately, there are messages going out that the Democrats want to turn around and increase your property taxes, or that we're the cause for the rise that you've seen, or that schools are the reason. But what I want to let you know is it's more than just that. What's going on is a lot of revenue assets that helped out with the school funding program were either reduced or eliminated. Some of those revenues used to be up to 40%. They're now down to more like 20%, give or take. So there's a decrease in the revenues that they were getting, and they had no plan to change that. And yet they started cutting back because they weren't prepared in regards to what we had for funding coming in from the federal government. From 2020 until 2024, we were receiving the funds that were allocated because of COVID. And that was the additional revenue that got us a lot of the things that we were getting done. However, it doesn't look like anybody prepared for the day that money would end. Well, it ended, and then they weren't balancing as the Constitution requires for the budget, so they had to pull from different areas in order to make that budget. At the end of the day, there's less funds that are going towards public schools. More funds are going to the voucher program that are coming out of the trust fund that's supposed to be for the educational trust fund. And look, we're still at the lowest rate for funds directly for public schools. So when that happens, it's one of the big causes that our property taxes went up. But there's other things behind that because more than just that goes on. In addition to these different areas is also about accountability. How many of us know exactly where that educational fund money is being spent as far as the voucher program? Do we know how many students are actually receiving those funds, and do we know what the average cost per student is? We're not getting those kind of answers because they're not being held accountable for them right now. Those are the things we have to change. We need to have people who are in there who are going to account for the accountability and know where your tax dollars are actually going, instead of us being told what we can't have or what they can't fund, or that it's that person's problem, it's that person's fault. It's been at least, 4 years plus that it has been a Republican majority. And in my understanding, a majority rules, not the minority. So I don't see how the Democrats are at fault for the budgeting and the taxes that we're all seeing. Taxes that were lowered were related more to the business taxes and not to your property taxes. So that's the piece that I'm the most concerned about, that our voices are not being heard and we're being ignored when we reach out and say, what's going on? Or I'm asking you to help me with something and you're not getting a call back. So my promise is I'll be the voice down in Concord for all of you, and I'll answer every call. I may not answer it when you ring, but I will call you back. And that's one reason why I make sure that if you need it, you've got my business card so you can reach me personally. And that's basically it. If you have any questions.
I have a few.
Sure.
My apologies to ask that way. If we pay property taxes, and our money's supposed to go to our schools and our roads, why are they both belonging Dummer? In the town of Dummer? Because our money doesn't go to our roads, and our money sure as fudge does not go to our education. It goes to fat in their pockets. Does it not?
Right now, yeah, right now, as far as I'm understanding all of it with the tax regulations and everything, your taxes are collected by the town. And then so much is paid to the county, so much is paid to the school, and then so much is paid to the state.
Sure.
I don't have all the percentages in it, but that's what's going on. When the state stops contributing towards the school, which they've done,
For years.
we pay the difference at the end of the day. That's what's going on. It's a switch.
So
They're
they
not-
grab their pockets and we pay it back. In a way. Right?
I can't say that it's going into their pockets, but that calls for accountability. That's the thing we need to know. Sue?
I will just say I was on the finance committee down in the House for several years.
Okay.
There isn't enough money to spread around.
Then why do we pay property tax?
Every property tax is for your town, not for.
I thought that's where our roads and the schools come from.
No, not from the local.
So by
Some
law,
of the local codes for school has to make up the difference of what the state doesn't send.
But-
So the state sends you that much, but it costs that much.
right, but they're getting about $2,000 out of each and every one of us that have property in the town. And that doesn't pay for our school and our roads?
It does pay for your school.
No, it doesn't. Our schools are garbage.
No, you need to take a look at what the town says about the percentage of where your money is
Or
going.
32nd,
And that should
or
be
64th.
available. That should be available to you.
But it's never.
But we don't, I
They've
mean,
got
I
their
was on-
pockets.
when I was on transportation, we ended up trying to lease
Yeah.
snowplows because we didn't have enough money to buy them. The one thing you want to do is to not lease something that's going to die. And in 20 years, a snowplow is not worth it.
Right.
But that was the only way we could get snowplows up in the North Country. So if the state is fighting what they're doing, and every single time they spend money and reduce input, your taxes in local go up.
So it goes to fat in their pockets.
No.
Because our money doesn't go for any,
If
doesn't
it
go
goes,
for the education of the roads.
and you're right, some of it goes back to Amazon, some of it goes back to Walmart. The people that.
But we pay Walmart, we pay Amazon every time we buy something.
Yes, you
But
do.
all their stuff is out of China.
Hey, talk to someone about the fact that they do it, that the Republicans have been lowering the taxes on the state level, and every time your taxes on the state level go down, your town property tax goes up.
Yeah, that's how.
So, just because I know you're concerned, you want to know.
I would like to know.
Let me turn around and do this for you, so that others can ask a few questions they have. I will turn around and find out what Dummer is paying out in percentages, okay?
And we'll talk to them.
And then we'll talk on it. My card's here, you can take that,
Thank you.
and you and I will talk on it.
Appreciate it. My apologies for the question.
No, never apologize for asking a question, because every question is valid. It's just how we're able to answer it. If I don't have the answer, I'm not gonna make it up.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yes?
Merci beaucoup. Much love.
30 years ago, the New Hampshire Supreme Court declared that the state of New Hampshire, the New Hampshire legislature, of which you're asking to be a part, must pay for an adequate education for its students.
Yep.
Right now, it has been calculated that the amount of adequacy required is over $7,000, approaching $8,000. The state pays approximately $2,000 of the $8,000. So that differential between the 2 and the 8 is shifted back to the towns and the property tax. What would you, as my senator, do to see that the state does what it has been ordered to do by the Supreme Court to provide for this adequate education? Because property taxes are getting very, very tough, and I think that is going to be the biggest issue in this campaign for anybody running.
No, you're right. It's going to be the biggest issue. One of the things is you have to turn around and make sure you have the revenues to support everything, but funding does need to be at a higher level to the public schools by the state. The courts have said it. We should be agreeing with that and doing it. Now, the other piece that I also look at is dealing with the voucher program. I agree that everybody should have choice of the schools that you send your kids to, but when I grew up, when you made that choice, if it was a private school, you paid for it, or you worked with them on a program on how to pay for it. Funding for those programs are coming out of the trust fund, education trust fund, that is supposed to be going to the public schools. I believe that what we need to do is turn around and increase the revenue sources that go into that education trust fund, and first pay the public schools what's appropriate, and then after, the balance would be what would be available for the voucher program, and not this open-ended piece that doesn't have any accountability.
Should I follow that up?
Sure.
What precisely, what ideas do you have in mind to raise money so the state can close that gap?
Part of that is to reinstate some of the taxes they eliminated that businesses were paying. The income and dividends piece was small for them. I would put that back in place. And the other aspect that I would do is raise the percentages back up a little bit from what they were removed, that brought down, because by eliminating one and bringing others down and not putting any revenue source in, we all started paying for it more out of our property taxes. So restoring what had been there, we don't need to create something new, we just need to restore what was there that was working. And if that doesn't work, then the other aspects of looking for things, well, one of the biggest pieces that a lot of people have mentioned is in regards to the marijuana being legalized in the state, having that as a resource where people have it available for medical instead of having to go to Vermont, Massachusetts, and Maine. I mean, everybody around us is getting that business for that, so why are we not doing the same? That's another place where there would be revenue that would go towards all of that. But these are stages that I would work with everybody and argue with them, like I would in business, about what's practical. In true business finance, you don't remove revenues and expect to still pay the same expenses that you've always had. You expect to replace them with a better way of doing it, so you take the load off of the people that are suffering the most. I hope that helps to answer your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Connor. The issue that I care most about is the environment, so I was wondering if you have any thoughts on how to protect the environment or fight climate change?
Yeah, in regards to the environment, I agree. We need to protect it for the future of generations to come. Both my husband and I look at the land we have inherited through his family since the 1800s, that we are the stewards of the land, not the owners. That's how we look at it. And the biggest thing is to take care of it and make sure that we have clean water, clean air, etc. for everybody. I'm right in the heart of Dalton, New Hampshire, where we are dealing with a landfill issue. And where actually, they have done the passing of 707, which allows for a committee to oversee. There are still restrictions that need to go in place, about 3 or 4 different bills that need to be adjusted to protect all areas, Bethlehem, Milan, Dummer area, and Dalton in regards to landfills. Because these companies need to be held accountable. Again, it's about accountability and costs. There should be the appropriate fines for failure to do the right thing, but also the right guidance for DES to follow through on all of it. So that's my piece that I would do, but in the meantime, the other piece is knowing and understanding that the multi-generational people that live in Dalton don't want zoning. That's one thing they all, 59% did not vote for zoning when we had that issue, and a lot of people were upset about it. But there is an alternative way that anyone could go to help protect the area until the laws have changed. And that piece would be in regards to putting in a health and welfare ordinance that would protect against multiple things, including the areas that would deal with large industrial infrastructure, such as data centers or Bitcoin mining, in addition to landfills. It covers more than one, but it also protects the people, the environment, the water for the future. There's also many people in Dalton are already trying to see about having solar, because we have a lot of outages that occur with the weather conditions that we have, and that's the way they're going, and I agree with it. But there's not enough programs out there right now to be able to do it for the individual. They do have it, so municipalities can put it in place, and Dalton has done so, which I'm really thrilled about. But I'd like to see more of that being done for everybody throughout the North Country. Because right now, the grid that we have in Coast County is not as durable or strong as what you have here through Moore Dam and Littleton. So we need things to happen, but happen in the right way so that we can grow with all of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're first.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have 2 questions.
Sure.
First, is what committee or committees have you been thinking about and wanting to be a part of? And secondly, what in particular might you, as one of 24
Mhm.
senators, do to make this state safer for trans high school girls, so they can play sports, and safer for LGBTQ in general?
Okay. So the first question is what committees I would want to be on, et cetera. I have a wide background in many areas, and what I would look at is what's the most important, especially for helping up here. One could be the Energy Committee, other could be Finance because of my background in that. There's a couple of others, but a lot of it is just being able to have the skill sets to go across many avenues to talk to people where we have educational discussions, not my way or the highway discussions, and we work things through for the betterment of everybody. And that piece is what I would work on with these committee groups. I take on any challenge that I get assigned to, but I know that those at least would be the start. Now, in regards to the LGBTQ community and also the trans community, I would work on anything to help in regards to ensuring that everyone, which as far as I'm concerned, we are all born here as free spirits. We should all be able to be who and what we are. No one person should tell us how we should be, how we should behave. We should be responsible with everything that we do, and we need to stand up for each other and not tear each other down. One thing I was taught in growing up by my grandmother and my mother, treat others as you want to be treated, and it's got nothing to do with your religious beliefs, because we are a multi-religious family. We have people from all over different beliefs. But the biggest piece was, if you don't like to be talked to that way or treated that way, why would you do it to someone else? The other aspect is, children should be able to enjoy their childhood, not be told they can't do something because they're not like everybody else. I don't know about anyone else, but I was born with a disability originally that surgery took care of. And there were others that were born during that time period that the parents had to make a decision on whether or not that they would be a girl or a boy because of the genetics that was going on. It's a reality that people are not easily able to understand. It's not a choice, it's what and who they are. We need to have a better understanding of that and accept them for that. And they should be able to have fun like we do. Even adults need to be able to have a little bit of fun.
I got it.
So, it's okay. But that's just the one piece that I would say, because each and every one of us is the same, no matter whether we put on a pair of pants, shorts, skirt, wear a hat, work hard, work in construction, or work behind a desk. We're all the same at the end of the day. Yes?
The wind turbines that they have in Colas County, that go up to Dixville, those wind turbines
Yes.
that are grabbing electricity.
Mhm.
Why does that go to Canada and not stay here? You know?
That
We
I-
have to look at it, and the power's Canada, but we don't receive any of that power.
That I can't answer to. I'm gonna have to turn around and check that out and get back to you on it.
Okay.
Okay?
You know, I was wondering about that the other day. I mean, we have to see it. So it obstructs our view of the mountains or the hills. But the power is going to Canada. And the line that they ran years ago that brings natural gas, we're not receiving it, but it's going to Canada. But it's going through our land, and we're not receiving any of it. I don't
Okay.
understand that.
Again, that these are areas of concern you want to know answers for, and I will go get them. Seriously, if I don't have the answer, I'm not going to tell you something that's not true.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Even though my family's from Canada, it's good that they have it, but we should have it too.
Anyone? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm a resident of Littleton, and I
Yes.
just wanted to point of clarity and then a question about environmental stewardship. Great River Hydro does not provide any power to Littleton Water and Light. Littleton Water and Light, which runs the electricity in Littleton and then some out in Monroe, some in Bethlehem, they've got some lines going around.
Hmm?
They draw 2% of their power from the White Mountain Hydro, which is on the Amusement River.
Okay.
They get zero from Great River Hydro, it's a Canadian company, and it goes over the border. And most of it actually comes in on a transmission line. Littleton Water and Light is one of the few municipally owned electric companies in New Hampshire that is A1 UV rated, so they're able to actually buy electricity on the wholesale market.
Right.
That's why the rates are so low in Littleton, because they're doing a great job running that organization. So just wanted to clarify that none of the power for River Hydro comes into Littleton at all. We don't-
Yeah, no. When I was speaking about that at the beginning, this is at the time that it was built.
Right, yeah, that changed,
Yeah, it changed when New England Electric closed, and they bought everything that they had.
I mean, I know it's a lot of effort, it's kind of a side note, but it would be a nice project to see the states here take, some control over that property, over that project, because it's our rivers that are powering it, and we are seeing no benefit to our electric grid. And they fight whenever there's some tax assessments come out, so we're spending a lot of money in Littleton fighting them. I'm sure water
said that they're gonna step up with DES or anything in the Senate?
Yeah, they said the second DES, not on my side, was July 22nd of this year, so it's moving slowly. The property owner's not responding to it, and so, you know, there needs to be some other than a citizen like me filing a lawsuit, which is, I don't have the, I mean, I go through it all myself, but that's the only point of action at this point, because nobody else is stepping up and saying, hey, we need to take a look at this property, so, you know, I'd like to see some oversight since the select board has said, we don't want to deal with it, which should be within their purview, since they're the executive branch of this town. I'd like to see some push.
So in regards to anything, especially the environment, you know, DES, there needs to be strengthening in regards to how they handle all of these cases and whether you're getting a good enough response or not. And maybe there's some changes we need to do within the legislation to make sure that happens. So I would promise you this, that would be one of the first things I'd be addressing, is anything to do with the environment and ensuring that DES is stepping up and not just letting it drag on. And that would give them the strength and the legislative power to handle that piece and not be just a general situation where you're not getting any answers, Littleton isn't, and people possibly could have a problem from it. You know, anything that regards health, welfare, and safety needs to be addressed right away.
There are sections of that property where actually DES says kids and animals should not even be on, and yet there's no signs, there's no nothing. So I mean, it's really being kind of swept under the carpet. So I appreciate that. That's what I was looking for, is some oversight, some change in legislative, you know, action, so that there is some accountability.
No.
Enforcement. So.
And that's one of the things we've got to do, because everything that's going on, we need to have accountability, whether it's with the health and welfare because of PFAS and land issues, it's going to be dealt with. We can't just let it slide. We've got to turn around and make differences and make sure that all of you are being heard about the different issues. You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm just wondering what you were able to do and what you're planning to address the $51 million back of the budget cut to DHS.
I know that there's been different situations have happened where they're telling them, DES and everybody else, you've got to cut all this money out, you've got to cut your budget. This end of the year adjustment is inappropriate. They should have had the budget working and not turn around and tell them they've got to cut the money out, because now it's going to take away from the programs that everybody uses. And it's also probably going to remove staff that are needed, because right now it's already hindered on benefits and other necessities that people with disabilities have been receiving through the program. The fact that they have told everybody, you got to cut this much out, 25.1 or 50, whichever amount it is. My next question is, why do you have to tell them that when you should have been prepared at the start with your budget? You should have known what it was going to cost and kept to your budget. That's how you do anything in finance. You prepare ahead and don't spend beyond. And if you're not getting enough of the revenues, you need to find out why and resolve your issues. Does that help? It's the best I could do, because I'm not there. I can't change what they've done. But anybody in business, you do not turn around and tell people we've got all this money and then you don't produce the money that's needed.
Yeah, so I do know that it's already impacting the HHS, and there's been hiring freezes for 2 years, and it's going to continue through the next few years. And people, if they don't feel that effect right now, they will be feeling it immediately.
Oh, I know there are people feeling the effect, because there's a disabilities group that I go and meet with, but also I worked for a nonprofit group that helped people that have disabilities, and they help with the resources they get. Last June, they suddenly stopped receiving the additional aid that helped them to be able to be in the apartments and homes they were in. And then it doubled down and you started paying more for your Medicare costs. And then the insurances covering all of us through co-os went from 5 down to 2 companies.
Yep.
And what they do for you is almost nothing. So there are people feeling it, maybe not everywhere, but they're feeling it. But my biggest heartache was to see it happening to people with disabilities that the courts had assigned to medical guardians and guardianship because they didn't have family to help them out. And they didn't want them to be going into nursing homes because when they go into nursing homes, instead of being at home themselves, they're not feeling that they're being productive or a part of the community like we all want them to be. But also, that's one of the things you pay with your property taxes that gets paid to the county, is the county nursing homes. So, yeah, it's not helping anybody, and the effects are already being seen. I've seen that. So, believe me, I would be fighting on that kind of an issue of making sure we do what we can to have a good budget. And what we can do now, I don't know, to be honest. I just was shocked as everybody else when they came out doing that at the end, because I don't know what I would do if somebody, like I work as a trustee on the library, if I was, I gave them my budget, I said, this is how much we need, because I do the treasury part, and then at the end they go, well, we don't have the money, we can't help you with the rest of your year. You've got to figure it out yourself. So, yeah, it doesn't work for anybody. That's poor business, it's poor government.
It's poor government, sorry.
But it's already happened, and that's why I was just wondering what you thought.
It pretty much happens every single budget.
But 51 million happened.
No, I know, but they have pulled a whole lot out of all of them. And you're absolutely right, it should not be going on, but that's the only way to survive. We don't have enough revenue in New Hampshire, and we keep cutting back on collecting revenue.
From the top, right.
I mean, it's the revenue issue that we need to have.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things I'll turn around and say, when you look at revenues, okay, they've reduced the resources for those revenues, percentages have been reduced. When you start doing that, your savings, your rainy day fund, everything else starts to dwindle because you keep pulling out of it because you're not meeting your budget. So you're failing everybody because you're not staying ahead of it, getting behind it. It's going to be a while to fix it. That's one thing I can promise. But it needs to get fixed. And if you don't believe the current legislation is doing what you need them to do, then it's time to turn around and make sure your voice is heard at the polls and you vote for the people that are going to make sure there's a difference. It's not going to be easy, but something can be done.
When are they gonna change that? When are they gonna take their fingers out of the tail? They haven't changed it since, what, 1940?
It's not gonna happen until people care about it.
Well, yeah, but they have
Keep
Bitcoin,
talking.
and they have XTR, which is utilities, and if you start investing in it, you're gonna make all kinds of money. But the government doesn't allow us to do anything. And our interest rate in our accounts has gone to garbage. But-
Well, a lot of things I think we all have gone through hard times with everything that's going on. Federal government is not providing enough of the funds that they would provide towards schools and everything else. The state isn't providing enough. And now we're all paying for what's not being done by those that are supposed to be doing the legislative work for us.
Then how can we spend so much money on a war? If we have no
That
money-
one I can't do anything about that one. I served in the military.
I did as well.
And I do not agree with what happened. I do agree with those that stood up and told people that you do not follow orders that are invalid and go against the UCMJ. But, having said that, I don't control what somebody else does. The House and the Senate for the federal government, they need to step up and do the right thing.
Yeah.
If you're not seeing the right thing being done, make sure you're voting for the people that will make that change. That's all I can ask.
Thank you.
Not a
I'd love to
problem.
see a change. We need a change, but never mind, I'll be quiet.
It's okay.
Thank you for what you're trying to do. I appreciate it.
Yep. Sometimes building a solid foundation, you can make a change.
Without a solid foundation, we got to do.
Yeah. But we can do it because your votes are what makes the difference in regards to everything. And I appreciate your question, and I'm hoping that we can make a difference. I can't stop what they've done for the current year, but we can all do something by just making sure we show up and vote. That's all I ask people to do. Vote your conscience, and you'll make a difference with what happens. But if we don't show up, we can't make a difference. And for that, I think I'll give it up for everybody.
Please, thank you, Kathleen.